3 days before my daughter's baby shower, I found a hotel receipt folded inside my son-in-law's winter coat, and I stood in the hallway of my own home holding it so long that my coffee went cold on the kitchen counter, and I forgot why I'd gone looking for his coat in the first place. My name is Loretta, not the one you know, not anyone you've met. I'm 62 years old. I live in Decatur, Georgia, in the same house I've owned for 23 years, the one with the magnolia tree in the front yard that blooms every March whether I deserve it or not. If you're listening from somewhere far away, drop your city in the comments. I want to know how far this has traveled. And please, stay with me until the end. You need to hear how this finishes. It was a Wednesday, February, cold enough for a coat, but not cold enough to mean it. My daughter Naomi had asked me to grab her husband's heavy wool coat from the hall closet and drop it at the dry cleaner on my way to pick up decorations for the shower. She was 34 weeks pregnant, on doctor's orders to stay off her feet, and her husband Wesley had left for his office in Atlanta without it, which was exactly the kind of thing Wesley did. Forgot things, left things behind, always had someone else to pick up after him. I'd been doing it for 4 years. I reached into the coat's inner pocket for the dry cleaning ticket from last time. He always shoved it back in there, and my fingers found paper, folded twice. I pulled it out, thinking it was a grocery list or a parking stub. It wasn't. Marriott Courtyard, Buckhead, room 42012, check-in February 8th, check-out February 9th, total charge $247 and dollars. I knew that date. February 8th was a Tuesday. A Tuesday 3 weeks ago when Wesley had texted Naomi at 9 p.m., saying the Hendricks account had blown up and he'd be staying downtown rather than driving back in the rain. Naomi had sent me a voice message that night, laughing a little, saying, "He works so hard, Mama, I feel bad that I can't even iron his shirts right now." She was 8 months pregnant and feeling guilty about her husband's shirt. I stood in that hallway for 4 minutes. I know it was 4 minutes because the grandfather clock in the living room ticked through them, and I counted without meaning to. Then I took up my phone and photographed the receipt, put it back exactly as I'd found it, took the coat to the dry cleaner, dropped off the decorations at the church fellowship hall where we were holding the shower, drove home, made a fresh pot of coffee, and started thinking, now, I want to stop right here and speak directly to anyone listening who is already asking why I didn't call Naomi immediately, why I didn't confront Wesley that night, why I didn't march into their house and blow the whole thing open right then. Because I knew my daughter. I knew that if I walked in with one hotel receipt and no other proof, Wesley would have an explanation. A client dinner that ran late, a colleague who'd booked the room and comped him a night, an upgrade he'd taken advantage of. He was a commercial real estate broker. His whole professional life was built on having a smooth answer for everything. And Naomi, 8 months pregnant, exhausted, in love with the father of her child, would believe him before she believed me. I'd seen it happen to a friend of mine 20 years ago. Her mother brought her half-truths, and the daughter chose the husband. Didn't speak to her mother for 3 years. I was not going to be that story. So I did what my own mother taught me to do when the world tries to knock you sideways. I got still. I got quiet. I got methodical. That night, after Naomi called to check in, "Did you find everything at the party store, Mama? Did they have the yellow balloons?" I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and thought about everything I actually knew about Wesley Briggs. 4 years of knowing him. 4 years of something sitting wrong in my chest that I'd chalked up to mother-hen instinct, to the simple fact that no man was ever going to be good enough for my baby. Maybe I'd been right all along. I started with what I could access legitimately. Wesley had asked me 18 months ago to be an authorized user on one of his credit cards, a business card he used for household purchases when Naomi was between jobs, so that I could order things for the house when he and Naomi traveled. I'd used it twice, never cancelled it. He'd never asked me to. I logged in. The statement loaded and I sat back in my chair and put my hand over my mouth. Marriott Buckhead, February 8th, $247. There it was, same as the receipt. But there was, ow. January 11th, Marriott Buckhead, $231. December 14th, Marriott Buckhead, $231. December 14th, Marriott Buckhead, $237. November 22nd, Embassy Suites Midtown, $312. October 9th. October 9th, Embassy Suites Midtown, $289. 5 hotel stays in 4 months. Every one of them on a weeknight. Every one of them within 10 miles of the house he shared with my pregnant daughter. I pulled out a notepad, the yellow legal pad I use for grocery lists and prayer requests, and I wrote every date down. Then I went to Naomi's Instagram, which I followed, and scrolled back to each of those dates looking at what she posted. October 9th, a photo of her positive pregnancy test, captioned, "God is good." Wesley was tagged. He'd commented 3 heart emojis. He'd been at the Embassy, Suites Midtown. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I'd always imagined that if I ever found myself in a moment like this one, I'd fall apart. I didn't fall apart. Something colder and cleaner than anger moved through me. Purpose, maybe. Or just the particular kind of grief that has no room to cry because there's too much work to do. I thought about Naomi, the way she'd looked at her last ultrasound appointment, which I'd gone to with her because Wesley had a showing he couldn't move. The way she talked about the nursery, about the name they'd chosen. She'd shared it only with me, sworn me to secrecy. The way she called me every morning on her drive to her prenatal yoga class just to talk, the way we'd always been since she was small. She could not find out from me with a notepad and a credit card statement. She needed to be sure. She needed to see it herself, clearly, with no room for Wesley to rewrite the story. The baby shower was Saturday. 70 women, family and friends from all over. Her sorority sisters from Spillman, her co-workers from the non-profit where she managed grants, my church friends, my sister driving up from Macon. Naomi had been planning this shower for months before the pregnancy made it. Other people's job to plan it for her. I had 3 days. Thursday morning, I got up at 5:30, made my coffee, and wrote at the top of a new page of my legal pad, what does Naomi need to know, and how does she need to know it? The hotel receipts proved location. The credit card statements proved pattern. But they didn't prove who. And I needed who. I thought about what I knew. Wesley traveled with his phone like it was attached to his body. He never left it unattended, but he used our family Amazon account. We'd set it up years ago. Naomi had added him. He'd never bothered to make his own. And through that account, I could see his Alexa activity, his purchase history, things he'd ordered and shipped places. I logged into Amazon, scrolled through Wesley's orders over the past 6 months. November 3rd, Visa gift card, $200, digital delivery. November 3rd, Pandora charm bracelet, shipped to an address in Sandy Springs. December 20th, Vera Wang perfume, shipped to the same Sandy Springs address. January 14th, edible arrangements, delivered to a name at that address. Tanya C. I had a name. I sat with it for a long time. Tanya C. Not a name I recognized. Not one of Naomi's friends. Not anyone I'd ever heard Wesley mention. I typed the Sandy Springs address into Google. A condominium complex, upscale, gated, the kind of place young professionals rented when they wanted to feel like they'd arrived. I took a screenshot, added it to a folder on my desktop I'd labeled Saturday. Friday, the day before the shower. I did something I'd never done in 62 years of life. I hired a private investigator. I found her through my attorney, a woman named Gloria who'd handled my late husband's estate and who I trusted completely. Gloria made one call, and by noon I was on the phone with a woman who had 20 years of domestic investigation experience and a voice so calm it made me feel like everything was going to be all right. I told her what I had. She said she could have confirmation by Saturday morning. I said, Saturday morning works perfectly. That Friday evening I drove to the fellowship hall to help set up for the shower. Yellow tablecloths, sunflower centerpieces, a banner that read, "A little sunshine is on the way." My sister Harriet, different Harriet than any you've known, that's just our family's name, handed me a hot glue gun and we worked for 3 hours making things beautiful for a celebration I wasn't sure would happen the way anyone planned. Naomi called at 8. She sounded tired and happy the way pregnant women sometimes do, tired down to the bones but with something glowing underneath it. "Mama, I can't believe tomorrow is finally here. I feel like I'd been pregnant for 40 years. Almost done, baby. Wesley keeps saying we should just enjoy these last few weeks, that once she gets here, life will never be the same. I pressed the phone against my ear and looked at the "A Little Sunshine is on the Way" banner and said, "He's right about that. Life will never be the same." And I meant something different than she thought I did. That night, I laid out what I was going to wear to the shower. A jade green dress I'd bought for my cousin's retirement party and never had occasion to wear again. I pressed it carefully, hung it on the closet door. I charged my phone to 100%. I made sure every screenshot, every document, every piece of evidence was saved in 3 places. My phone, my laptop, a flash drive I kept in my Bible study tote. I did not sleep much. I sat in my bedroom chair and thought about Naomi at age 7, the way she used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms and press her cold feet against my legs. I thought about her father, my husband Edmund, who died 11 years ago and never got to walk her down the aisle, or see her pregnant, or know Wesley Briggs at all. Edmund would have seen through Wesley on day 1. Edmund had a gift for that. At 6:47 a.m. Saturday, the investigator sent me a secure file. 3 photographs. Wesley and a woman, late 20s, leaving the Marriott Buckhead together on the morning of February 9th. Wesley with his arm around her. Wesley with his arm around her. Wesley kissing her in the parking garage before they went to separate cars. Clear, time-stamped, unambiguous. I saved the photos, forwarded the file to my attorney Gloria with a note, "Hold this, I may need it Monday." Then I got dressed, did my makeup, carefully, the way my mother taught me, because you should always look like you meant to be wherever you are, and drove to the fellowship hall. The shower was supposed to start at 11. By 10:45, the room was full of women settling into their chairs, signing the guest book, piling gifts on the table covered in yellow and white. My sister was pouring mimosas. Wesley's mother, a pleasant woman from Columbus, who I'd always liked, was already crying a little at the baby onesies someone had brought. Naomi arrived at 11 on the dot, in a white sundress with yellow flowers, her belly leading the way, her face lit up like something out of a painting. The room erupted. She pressed her hands over her mouth, eyes wet, looking around at all these women who loved her. I hugged her at the door, held on a few seconds longer than usual. She laughed, a little surprised. "Mama, you're going to make me cry before I even sit down." "I know. I'm sorry." "Go, go. Everyone wants to see you." The shower ran its course. We ate the little sandwiches and the fruit skewers and the lemon cake. We played the games. We passed around the ultrasound photo and said how perfect she already looked. Naomi opened gifts with tissue paper flying everywhere, writing thank you notes in her head out loud the way she always did. "Oh, this is from Aunt Cecile. I need to call her. I need to write her, Mama. Remind me." And I sat beside her and handed her gifts and watched her face and thought, she has no idea. She is sitting here in this beautiful room full of love with no idea. That was the moment I almost lost my nerve, not because I doubted what I knew, but because I understood what I was about to cost her. Today was supposed to be only joy, and I was about to change what today meant for the rest of her life. But then I thought about the name Tanya C. I thought about the Pandora charm bracelet he'd shipped to Sandy Springs on November 3rd, 3 weeks after Naomi's positive pregnancy test, 3 weeks after he'd commented 3 heart emojis and told the world God was good. I thought about Wesley sitting across from me at Christmas dinner, cutting his turkey, asking me about my church's food pantry drive, looking me in the eye while he was billing hotel rooms to the credit card I was authorized on. No, he did not get to keep this secret past today. After the last gift was opened, when the room was full of that warm, buzzing energy of women talking over each other about names and nursery colours and labour stories, I stood up. The room settled. People expected remarks. I was the mother. "I want to say something," I started. And I smiled and I looked at Naomi, and she smiled back at me with her whole face the way she's done since she was a baby. "I want to tell you all how proud I am of this woman. How I have watched her grow into someone with more grace and strength than I ever managed at her age. How becoming her mother has been the greatest honor of my life. And because I love her that much, because she deserves honesty the way she deserves air, I have to give her something today that is not wrapped in yellow ribbon. The room went quiet in that particular way that means everyone has felt the temperature change. Naomi, I said her name clearly. I love you. And what I'm about to share with you, I share because you need to know it before that baby gets here. You need to know who is in your life. Mama. Her voice was careful, uncertain. What's going on? I had my phone in my hand. I'd connected it to the fellowship hall's smart TV before people arrived. Told the tech volunteer I wanted to do a photo slideshow of Naomi's childhood pictures as a surprise. He'd set it up without question. I opened the credit card statements first, projected them on the screen. Rows of hotel charges, dates, amounts, all of them in the months since Naomi had been pregnant. The room made a sound I can't quite describe. Not a gasp, something quieter than that. The sound of comprehension arriving. Wesley has been staying at hotels in Buckhead and Midtown, I said, my voice level on weeknights. 11 times since October. I have the statements. Naomi was staring at the screen. Her hand had gone to her belly without her seeming to realize it. I also have this. I switched to the photographs. Wesley and a woman. Parking garage. February 9th. His arm around her, the kiss. Naomi made a sound then that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. It wasn't crying, it was something before crying. A small compressed noise, like something inside her had closed. Her sorority sister Bridget, sitting right beside her, took her hand without being asked. The room was absolutely still. Wesley's mother stood up from her chair in the back row. Her face had gone grey. I looked at her and I said, "I'm sorry. You deserved better from your son than this." She sat back down. Naomi turned to look at me. Her eyes were dry. She was somewhere past the first wave of it already doing what she'd always done. Getting still, getting focused, getting ready. She got that from Edmund. She got that from me. "How long have you known?" she asked. 3 days. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because you needed to see it, not hear it." She looked at the screen for a long moment. Then she looked back at me. "Is there more?" "There is. There's a name, an address, and a full report from an investigator. It's with my attorney. You'll have everything you need." Someone in the back of the room was crying quietly. Most people weren't. Most people were watching Naomi the way you watch someone who you know is strong, with the specific kind of respect that is its own form of love. Naomi's friend, the one who'd organized the whole shower, stepped quietly to the door and made a call. Wesley arrived 20 minutes later, thinking Naomi had gone into early labor. He walked through the door of the fellowship hall into 70 women and a projection screen that still had his photograph on it. I will not describe what happened after that in full detail. It is not my story to tell, it's Naomi's. What I will say is that Wesley did not deny it. He didn't have the room to deny it, and something in the evidence, or something in the faces around him, made him understand that. He cried. He said he was sorry. He said it didn't mean anything, which is perhaps the most useless thing a person can say. Naomi told him to leave. He left. The women in that room closed around my daughter like water. Someone got her a glass of water. Someone else held her hand. Wesley's mother came and sat beside her and said, "I don't know what he's become, but you and that baby are family. That doesn't change." Naomi leaned her head on the woman's shoulder for a moment and let herself be held. I sat on Naomi's other side. We didn't say much. There wasn't much to say yet. We just sat there in that room that still smelled like lemon cake and flowers, surrounded by yellow balloons that said, "Baby girl," and we breathed. She stayed with me for the next 3 weeks. I gave her the room Edmund and I had shared, and I moved to the guest room without her asking. We fell into a quiet routine. I made breakfast, she ate. We watched television in the evenings. I drove her to her prenatal appointments. We didn't talk about Wesley constantly. Some days we didn't talk about him at all. And some mornings I'd come downstairs and find her sitting at the kitchen table in the grey early light, staring at nothing, and I'd just make coffee and sit across from her and wait. On day 5, she asked me, "Did you know, before the receipt? Did you have a feeling?" I thought about being gentle. I thought about protecting her from the answer. "Yes," I said. I had a feeling I didn't trust it enough. She nodded slowly. I had a feeling too. I told myself it was pregnancy hormones, that I was being paranoid. She looked at her hands. He was so good at making me feel like my instincts were wrong. That's what they do, I told her. That's the particular cruelty of it. Not just the betrayal, but the way they make you distrust yourself first. She filed for divorce at 35 weeks pregnant. Her attorney, a fierce woman in her 40s who came recommended by 3 different people in our church, got an emergency agreement in place before the baby came: temporary custody, temporary child support. Wesley out of the house in Decatur that Naomi had bought before they married and that remained in her name. Wesley tried to apologize to me once. He showed up at my house on a Tuesday morning, which I found almost impressively tone-deaf. He stood on my porch and said he knew he'd hurt our family, and he wanted me to understand that he loved Naomi, that the affair didn't mean he didn't love her. I looked at him for a moment. Wesley, I said, I believe you think that's true, but loving someone and being faithful to them while they're pregnant with your child are not the same quality of love. What you had for Naomi was not enough, and I need you to understand that what happens next, how you show up for that little girl, how you respect Naomi's peace, how you do the actual work of being accountable, that's the only thing that matters to me now, not your apology, your behavior. He nodded. He left. I'm not certain he understood, but I'd said it for me as much as for him. My granddaughter was born on a Tuesday in late March, 7 pounds and 4 ounces, with Edmund's ears and Naomi's exact expression of mild impatience. Naomi named her August. I didn't ask why, and then she told me anyway. Because August is the end of summer, Mama. Something hard ending, and something beautiful still coming. I held August in the recovery room while Naomi slept, and I looked at that small, weightless, astonishing person, and I thought about fires and what they clear and what survives them. The TikTok found us, same way it finds everything. Someone at the shower had recorded part of the moment. Not Naomi's face, just the screen, just my voice, and a few seconds of the room going silent. 60 seconds posted without names, and somehow that clip got 3 million views in 4 days. The comments split exactly the way they always do. Half the people calling me brave, half calling me selfish for not telling Naomi privately, for doing it at the shower, for the public nature of it. I read them all. I understood both sides. Here's what I know. If I had told Naomi privately on Wednesday, Wesley would have had time to prepare. He would have had lawyers, stories, a version of events designed to leave just enough doubt. Naomi, 8 months pregnant and wanting desperately to believe in her marriage, might have given him the benefit of it. Might have spent the next year in that house with that man, nursing secret doubts, wondering if she'd made the right choice. Instead, she spent those weeks at my kitchen table, healing on her own terms, sure of what was real. Was it the right choice? I think about that question. I don't have a clean answer. What I have is a daughter who is still standing, a granddaughter named August, and the knowledge that I did not look away when looking away would have been so much easier. Naomi went back to work 4 months after August was born. She negotiated remote arrangements 2 days a week, and her organization threw her a small welcome-back party with a cake that said, "She's back." She texted me a photo of it at 9 a.m., and I laughed so hard I had to sit down. Wesley's mother sends a card every month, always addressed to both Naomi and August. She has held August twice, on Naomi's terms, and been decent about all of it. I have more respect for that woman than I have words for. Wesley is in counseling. He calls Naomi on Sundays when August is supposed to be on video chat with him. Some weeks he shows up to those calls and some weeks he doesn't. Naomi documents everything, quietly, without drama. Her attorney told her the documentation would matter, and she believes her attorney. 7 months after the shower, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Mrs., this is Tanya. I know you don't owe me anything. I just want you to know I didn't know she was pregnant until the week before the shower. He told me Naomi and he were already separated. I'm so sorry. I'm not looking for forgiveness, just the truth to be known." I sat with that text for 3 days before I answered. I typed, "Thank you for telling me." Take care of yourself. I meant it. I wasn't angry at Tanya in the way you might expect. She'd been lied to, the same as Naomi. She'd just had the particular misfortune of believing a man who was very good at being believed. I told Naomi about the text. She was quiet for a while. Then she said, "He told you both what you needed to hear to keep you from comparing notes. That's not confusion. That's the system." She's right. That's exactly what it is. Naomi is doing well. Not fine. Well. There's a difference. Fine is what you say when you don't want anyone to ask follow-up questions. Well is what you say when you mean it. She is rebuilding in the way that people rebuild when they're doing it from the foundation and not just from the surface. Slowly, carefully, with full knowledge of what needs to be different this time. She told me a few weeks ago that she'd been on a walk with a friend from her office. Just a walk, she said quickly, reading my face. Just friends. But she was smiling while she said it, a little embarrassed, a little pleased with herself. And I thought, good. Go ahead. You are 35 years old, and you have done nothing wrong, and your life is still completely, entirely ahead of you. I still live in the same house in Decatur. The magnolia bloomed again this March, right on schedule, indifferent to everything that had happened in the years since I'd last noticed it. I take August on Tuesdays now, Naomi's office days, and we sit in the backyard under that magnolia, and I tell August things. About Edmund, her grandfather she'll never meet. About her mother who is braver than she knows. About the year everything broke and what we built from the pieces. August doesn't understand any of it yet. She's 7 months old. She mostly understands ceiling fans and her own feet, but I talk to her anyway. Because here is what I have learned at 62, after a year that remade everything I thought I understood about my family. The truth does not always arrive gently. It does not wait for a convenient moment. It does not consider your feelings or your timing or what you have planned for Saturday, but it is always, always kinder in the end than the silence that covers it. My name is Loretta. My granddaughter is named August. My daughter is standing, and some things, it turns out, survive everything. I keep coming back to that hallway. The grandfather clock ticking, my coffee going cold on the counter, a folded piece of paper in my hand that I almost put back without looking at. That moment, that one small decision to look instead of turn away, is where everything that came after began. And I've thought about it enough now to understand something. The outcomes in our lives are rarely shaped by the dramatic moments. They're shaped by the quiet ones, by whether we choose to see clearly when seeing is painful, or whether we choose the easier comfort of not knowing. Wesley made choices, one after another, each one building on the last. A hotel room, a gift shipped to another address, a lie told smoothly enough that nobody questioned it. And those choices had consequences that reached places he never calculated. A daughter who will spend years learning to trust her own instincts again. A granddaughter who will grow up with a father she has to schedule. A family that had to be rebuilt from the floor up. That is how cause and effect actually works. Not in punishment handed down from somewhere above us, but in the simple, relentless logic of what we set in motion. He chose the path. The path delivered him exactly where it led. But here is the part I sit with most. I had a feeling 6 months before that receipt. I knew something was off the way. You know weather is changing before the clouds arrive, and I talked myself out of it. I decided my instincts were inconvenient, that I was being the difficult mother-in-law, that love meant giving people the benefit of the doubt, even when the doubt was persistent and specific. That was not wisdom. That was fear, dressed up as generosity. What I learned, what I'm still learning, is that clear thinking is not coldness. When I sat at my kitchen table at 5:30 in the morning with a legal pad and a laptop, I was not being cruel. I was being careful with the truth. There is a kind of intelligence that isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being willing to follow evidence where it goes, even when you'd rather it go somewhere else. Naomi deserved that from me. She deserved a mother who trusted her own mind enough to use it. And then there is what Naomi herself did. 35 weeks pregnant, the shower she had looked forward to for months still in the air around her, balloons still tied to chairs, lemon cake on the table. And she sat up straight and asked me, "Is there more?" She didn't collapse. She didn't beg him to explain. She got still the way people get still when they've decided to survive something. That is not a quality you can borrow from someone else. It lives in you already, or it gets built the hard way, through everything you've already carried and kept moving through. I think about the magnolia in my front yard. It doesn't know what year it is. It doesn't know what happened in the house behind it. Every March it blooms anyway, because that is what it is built to do. Naomi is like that. August is going to be like that. And I want to be like that too, 62 years old, starting over in a house that is quieter now but more honest, choosing to see, choosing to act, choosing to say, choosing to stand in a fellowship hall in a jade green dress and tell my daughter the truth because she needed it more than she needed one more hour of not knowing. Some fires cost everything. But the ground they leave behind is real. You can build on real.